Earlier this week, 21 Capital, which defines itself as a Bitcoin company, was at the NYSE for a special celebration. The firm's co-founder and CEO, Jack Mallers, rang the opening bell to celebrate its listing, trading appropriately under the ticker symbol XXI. 21 Capital is now the exchange's largest Bitcoin company. I sat down with Mallers following the celebration. Here's what he had to say about the milestone and 21's place in the Bitcoin ecosystem.
So it's a lot of what we want to build is a blue chip credibility and startup upside in the capital markets. We want to be the best way for the capital markets to participate in Bitcoin story. And so obviously that implies being listed, and we're happy that day is today. It's been a lot of put me in, coach, we're ready to play. And today we get to start playing, and we're excited about that.
All right, so let's start with what is 21?
A Bitcoin company. And I know that's our tagline, and it sounds simple and elegant, but it's unique somehow, right? So we view it as on one side of the spectrum, you've got a Coinbase or a Robinhood or a Kraken, and these aren't Bitcoin companies, and I'm not dissing them, but they're crypto companies, or they're focused on prediction markets, equities, different ways of speculating. And the other side of the spectrum, maybe you've got a MicroStrategy, which is focused on Bitcoin, but doesn't have Bitcoin-focused cash flow and products and high-margin, high-growth opportunities that will ride this tech sector through its inevitable disruption of legacy finance. And Tether and I, my co-founders, we've been in Bitcoin for over 10 years. And we were like, is there really no one that's going to focus on Bitcoin in the middle? Both acquire as much Bitcoin as we possibly can because it's been the best thing you could have ever owned, and build products that focus on utility services, financial services, high margin, high growth, profit generating products. And to our surprise, a Bitcoin company doesn't exist in the public markets. There's crypto companies, prediction market companies, there's treasury companies, and we're none of that. And so we're a Bitcoin company, and we believe we're fundamentally different for that reason.
And you're clear you're not a treasury, as you just mentioned. You are a Bitcoin operating company. Can you talk a little bit about what products and services you'll be rolling out to support Bitcoin?
Financial services is how I think the market should think of us predominantly. Listen, a company like Robinhood or Coinbase, these businesses are monetizing things like speculation, which is fine. And when you live through currency debasement and the amount of fiscal deficits and money printing that we're all living through, we're all speculators, whether we know it or not. But that business implies listing tons of coins, tons of tokens, creating and hyper-financializing markets on, who's going to win the Super Bowl this year. We're totally different. And that financial services to us is who's building credit products and lending products in a lending market on top of Bitcoin? What about brokerage and institutional scale trading on top of Bitcoin? How is this asset that is now 2 trillion and we believe is going on 200 trillion? How are people going to find utility and finance their lives in an everyday sense on top of the asset class? And that's our focus. So something like credit and lending, our entrance into that market is a sooner rather than later. And that is fundamentally different than customers that are encouraged to speculate and hyper-financialize. Our customers are encouraged to make utility of Bitcoin itself. And we want to live in that institutional realm of utility services on top of Bitcoin, at least initially.
And I feel like you've covered this, but 21's mission is to advance Bitcoin and that mission. What is that going to look like in practice?
We think Bitcoin is the greatest tool and vehicle ever invented to advance the human story. And it sounds insane. I fundamentally believe that. Listen, money is our time and energy in an abstracted form. You go to work, you commute, you make sacrifices, you do stuff your boss tells you even though you don't want to do it. In exchange for that, you get money, right? And you use the money to both save the value that you've created for those around you, and then to later exchange for the things you need, like food and rent and vacation and to get married. It's so critical to a functioning society. And we feel the money is fundamentally broken. And our mission is if we can fix the money, we feel like we can fix the world. We think we can solve half the world's hardest problems. And so we think Bitcoin is the best vehicle to affect that change. And we're a company focused solely on making sure its adoption and its growth and its utility is seen in society. And again, we felt like that was missing in the market. Satoshi Nakamoto and Bitcoin started this really novel idea that we could have better money that served the people. And we didn't see many companies both advancing that very specific idea, focus on Bitcoin, and giving shareholders and investors an ability to participate in that specific idea without, crypto and other distractions or, treasury companies with, too much leverage.
And why do you think it's Bitcoin?
Bitcoin is money. An Ethereum, a Dogecoin, a Solana, a Pinkcoin, Jackcoin, NYSE those aren't money. These are technologies. I think Ethereum and Solana is closer to an Amazon or a Tesla. There's DeFi, there's NFT, there's use cases. It's faster, it's this or that. Bitcoin, very simply put, is competing for how we all save our wealth, save our effort, save our labor. And so in our opinion, that's a $200 to $500 trillion market. Humans have created an immense amount of value by going out and doing productive things in the world, and they need a way to save that value. And so Bitcoin uniquely is competing against US debt, currencies, gold. It's not competing against Amazon, Apple. And so although it's massive and it's big, we think it could be 100 times bigger. And that's why, we're focused, we see the forest through the trees. We think of the other crypto opportunities as interesting, near-term tech plays, where we see Bitcoin as a monumental shift in how humans coordinate and exchange value.
When we sat down, you told me I can ask you anything.
Yes.
How important is transparency to your mission?
It's critical. Listen, I think the capital markets will get to know me as a public company officer as different as well. I'm young, but we're also brash and we're not afraid. And we're passionate and we're convicted. And part of that is we're overly transparent because we think that the world is starved of transparency, of honesty. Nobody wants another politician. Nobody wants another older corporate suit in a blue suit in brown sneakers telling you what everyone wants to hear. They want transparency. They want relatability. They want authenticity. They want change. They want real. And that's in part what we're bringing. Bitcoin allows us to deliver financial products and a business that's far more transparent than anything the legacy markets have ever seen. And we lean into that because we believe the world has been truly starved of what Bitcoin brings. And so we feel it's part of our responsibility as being a Bitcoin company to lean into those properties and give the world what we think it wants.